Starting now. Okay. Hello, I'm so very honored today to speak with Representative Paul Stark of the Minnesota Citizens Concern for Life. It's an issue that is near and dear to a lot of people in our community in Rochester. And thank you so much for joining us. You can find information about this organization, Minnesota Citizens Concern for Life, at www.mccl.org. You can find out the pending legislation that they're currently working on. You can find resources for your local groups, to start local groups and chapters, and perhaps bring people in as special guest speakers to your church or your place of worship. They're also the proud sponsors of the March for Life. The upcoming events are scheduled there. And I'm so excited that so many young people are involved in this today too. It's really an issue for the young upcoming conservatives in Minnesota and southeastern Minnesota and Wisconsin, Iowa to be involved with. And Paul Stark, thank you for joining me today. Can you tell us a little bit about your group and what it is that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Wes, for having me on here today. So as you said, I work for Minnesota Citizens Concern for Life, or MCCL, and we are the state's oldest and largest pro-life organization. Our mission is to secure protection for innocent human life from conception until natural death. And we do that through a few different avenues. So one avenue is education, pro-life education. So we work to sort of inform and persuade and motivate people regarding the humanity of the unborn child and the inhumanity of abortion and the positive alternatives to abortion that are available for pregnant women in need. So there's that educational component, and we do that through, educational fair booths at county fairs, state fair, pro-life presentations, events. We have a student day at the Capitol event. We have a life leadership summer camp, pro-life camp for high school students, different activities and events and programs in that educational avenue. But we also work through legislation rather. So we work at the state capitol to advance pro-life legislation and to oppose any anti-life measures that would undermine protection for innocent human life. And then the third sort of avenue is political action. So we do have a federal and a state political action committee, and through that we support pro-life candidates for public office. Because in order to get pro-life public policy and pro-life laws, we need the right people in office first. And so those three basic avenues of the organization is how we sort of pursue our mission of securing protection for innocent human life.
Tremendous. And it's such a hard work fighting against the culture of death that's pervasive and all around us. What are some of the latest abortion statistics and trends that your organization is aware of and you're tracking?
Yeah, so just kind of to give an overview of where we're at with the abortion issue, in Minnesota, in 2019, according to the health department, there were 9,922 abortions. So we're at about 10,000 abortions a year in our state, which is a really massive number, obviously. Yeah. But in fact, we've declined almost 50% since the peak in 1980. So we've seen a long-term downward trend, which is good. And yet it's so high still. The latest numbers I've seen for other causes of death, like cancer and heart disease, according to those numbers, abortion would still be the single greatest cause of human death in our state, 10,000 a year. So it's a huge number, but we've seen progress, and we've seen the number level off a little bit in recent years around that 10,000 level. One clear trend in recent years is that Planned Parenthood has increasingly sort of taken over the abortion market. In Minnesota, Planned Parenthood in Minnesota has increased their abortion numbers for the last 8 straight years. they keep going up every year. Even if overall abortions go down or stay the same, Planned Parenthood's abortions keep going up. They keep increasing their share of the market. In fact, I think they're at 65% of all Minnesota abortions right now are at Planned Parenthood. So they're really, and that's a nationwide trend as well. Nationwide, the latest and best estimates we have are that a little under 900,000 abortions take place a year, which is, again, it's a huge number. And again, we've seen a long-term downward trajectory, which is good. And we've seen Planned Parenthood increase their numbers over time. Another trend to pay attention to is the increase in chemical abortions.
Oh.
So this is the RU46 abortion drug. It's actually a 2-drug process typically. It's used in the first trimester, relatively early in pregnancy, a non-surgical method, obviously. And the first drug sort of cuts off the pregnancy hormone and causes the death of the unborn child. And the second drug causes contractions to expel the child. And the thing about chemical abortions is that they're a way that the abortion industry can sort of make abortion more widely accessible. It's an easy thing for them to do, even in places where they don't have a doctor who could perform a surgical abortion, they could dispense chemical abortions there. So it's a way for them to sort of expand abortion, which is very troubling. And so over time, we've seen the percentage of abortions that are chemical abortions keep increasing, which relates to what we've seen during the in recent months during the pandemic.
Right.
So during the pandemic, the abortion industry has sought to sort of capitalize on that. So with chemical abortions, there are FDA regulations governing them for safety reasons. So one regulation is that they have to be dispensed at a medical facility of some kind in person to the woman.
But they bypassed that during
Yes.
the pandemic, didn't they?
Yeah. So the abortion industry argued because of the pandemic that safety rule should be suspended so that women could be sent abortion drugs through the mail and not have to go to an actual facility and receive some kind of examination or anything like that, that they should be able to just send them to women through the mail. And in the last summer, there was a federal judge who sided with them and suspended that FDA rule, which opened the door to sending abortion drugs through the mail this way. And then what happened is that you saw some groups in different states pop up for that purpose, including there's a group here in Minnesota called Just the Pill that this past fall they started sending chemical abortions through the mail to women. And the dangers of this are that it increases the health danger to pregnant women when there's no in-person medical examination beforehand to verify the gestational age, to rule out the possibility of ectopic pregnancy, that sort of thing. And also when you're sending it to women in the mail, you might be sending to more rural areas where there's, in the case of complications, there isn't the help nearby that they might need in the event of complications. So it increases the dangers to women, and it also, obviously, it expands the number of unborn children who could be killed through this way by making it just more accessible. Abortion is more accessible.
It might also potentially create a black market for such medication or such abortion procedures where people are able to obtain this who probably it should come to light that this pill is being used on them. There could be a myriad of complications with just sending it out through the mail.
Yeah.
And for my part, I'd like guys to understand that we need to also realize that abortion is not a method of birth control, and guys are responsible for how we behave on our side of relationships with women. And here's two guys having this conversation. So I'm just saying, I'm totally acknowledging that, men, we have a responsibility to not be irresponsible in relationships with women.
No, absolutely. Men need to stand up and support women and children and do the right thing. And abortion has, as much as it talks about as a women's issue, it has had this benefit for men who are absolved of all responsibility because of this abortion option, which is not the way it should be. Men should be supportive of women and children, and work to defend children in the womb. But I just wanted to get back to the chemical abortion stuff, because last month, I mentioned the federal judge had suspended the rule. Now, last month, the U.S. Supreme Court weighed in and allowed the rule to go back into place, the FDA safety rule, which was a big thing. So that requirement that the drugs be dispensed at an actual facility has gone back into place for now, and that's good. Although the FDA is going to be under pressure during the Biden administration to change that rule to allow on a more permanent basis the sending of abortion drugs to the mail, which again is it increases the dangers to women, but also it obviously is a way of expanding the killing of unborn children. And that's something that we have to fight against.
Is that what you would say in terms of a brief as to abortion-related legislation in the state legislature or abortion-related legislation in the Congress? Or do you have some other things you might add to the group's pending legislation? Is there anything else you'd like people to know about that you're working on there?
Yeah. So in the state legislature, I mentioned that we're active at the legislature, lobbying for pro-life stuff. And this year, the House and Senate in Minnesota are very narrowly divided, and unfortunately, we don't have a pro-life governor. But we will continue, obviously, to push forward pro-life measures and to block anything bad from getting to go to the governor's desk. That's very important. So MCCL will be backing a bill to ban taxpayer funding of abortion in Minnesota, which is something we've supported before, but it's never been enacted. In Minnesota, we have a Minnesota Supreme Court decision back in '95 that required the state's Medicaid program to pay for elective abortions. So ever since we've been through that program, we've been paying for elective abortions for low-income women. And it's over 4,000 taxpayer-funded abortions each year in Minnesota now. More than $1 million each year of tax dollars go to abortion. So this is something that we've tried to raise awareness of and that we've tried to combat legislatively. Of course, if we get it enacted and signed into law, then it would be challenged in court. And the idea is it would give the courts an opportunity to revisit and reverse their previous decision that required this funding. So it's something that we've worked to push, and we'll push it again this year. This bill to ban taxpayer-funded abortion. We're also pushing a bill to license and inspect abortion facilities, which, believe it or not, the state does not license or inspect abortion facilities.
Really?
Yeah, even though they inspect all sorts of things.
Like a dentist's office.
Yeah.
For instance. So you could, an ophthalmology clinic where you're going to have your eyes, all of these, even a veterinarian's office would be inspected and regulated by the state. So I just say, actually, abortion clinics aren't inspected or regulated. That's crazy.
Not by the state.
That is showing incredible disrespect for the health of women.
Yeah. So we support legislation to, just as the state licenses and inspects other facilities that perform outpatient surgery. That's what abortion facilities do. They perform outpatient surgery. So this would apply the same basic health and safety standards to these abortion centers, and it would so it would hold them to those standards, and it would prevent some of the things that we've seen in some other states where you see some very unscrupulous abortionists in some very unsanitary and dangerous and horrible conditions that have been exposed in these other places. We need to hold these abortion centers to basic standards, and so that's another piece of legislation that we will support this year.
We also need to let women know that these standards aren't in place right now.
Yeah.
They would be really concerned to know that, and
Yeah.
just say, look, you're taking your life into your own hands when you go to one of these places. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. No, that's totally fine.
Well, did you have any other legislation that you wanted to speak on, or because that was a pretty important one? Is there another one equally impactful, or could I go on to the next question? Tell me.
There are a few other things that will be issues during the session this year. There's a program that we helped start called the Positive Alternatives Program, which provides it's a modest program, but it's a grant program that provides grants to programs that provide support and assistance to pregnant women and new mothers in need, and offers positive alternatives to abortion. And 2 years ago, there was an effort to cut some of the funding for that program. And unfortunately, that effort was defeated. But we're concerned again this year that there could be an effort to cut positive alternatives, which we think is a very life-affirming and woman-supporting program that offers these alternatives to abortion that are important. So that's another issue that we're keeping our eye on, and yeah, should we talk about the federal level?
Sure. Tell me a little about the federal level, because that's impactful as well. Maybe people are usually more concerned about the federal than the local, but
yeah, everyone hears more about the federal.
Yeah. However, what happens local is probably for Minnesotans, politics is often a spectator sport. So we want to sit in the stands and critique the game. Complaining about Washington is what our folks usually do. Whereas here in Minnesota, maybe we should be more involved with contacting our representatives and state senators, because we could have more impact on the game, so to speak, right here. But please tell us about the federal level too.
Yeah, so there'll be some different abortion-related bills that could be dealt with. But maybe the biggest thing to keep your eye on is the Hyde Amendment, which is that's a long-standing measure that Congress has passed year after year since the late 70s, I think. And the Hyde Amendment prevents most direct federal taxpayer funding of abortion through Medicaid and things like that. So it prevents most federal funding of abortion. And there's research that shows that it has saved more than 2 million unborn lives over the years, this policy being in place. And it used to be a bipartisan thing where Republicans and Democrats could agree that Americans shouldn't be forced to pay for other people's abortions. Mm-hmm. It's not bipartisan anymore, unfortunately, and this year there's been more energy on the other side to try and finally reverse the Hyde Amendment than there's been before. And during the 2020 presidential campaign, Joe Biden reversed his position on this issue and said that he now also wants to repeal the Hyde Amendment. He used to support it, like many people did, but now he wants to repeal it. So there's concern that there's this effort to get rid of the Hyde Amendment in Congress. So that's a big deal, and we need to contact our members of Congress and make sure that they know that we want them to oppose taxpayer funding of abortion and keep the Hyde Amendment in place. So taxpayers aren't forced to support abortion, which also harms unborn children who are killed, obviously, and it harms women, low-income women who deserve better than abortion.
Mhm.
So that's maybe the biggest thing to keep your eye on in Congress.
Really good information there. Thank you. And we'll provide some links in the description below this video how people can get involved with the organization and reach out to learn about these legislative issues and help with perhaps a donation, help with your time, your energies. We would also love to host you in Rochester live and in person. We could bring your team here.
Yeah.
We have a really nice set of venues, a lot of different places where you could speak in Rochester. Maybe we can set that up off channel. But can you help me understand when the opposition is presenting their arguments for abortion, they usually say my body, my choice, not so much when it comes to a vaccine, of course, but what are the pro-life arguments? How do we answer arguments when arguments are presented to us for abortion, pro-abortion? How do we muster enough? What do we say in response? What are some ways we can fight back somehow verbally?
Yeah. So the pro-life view is sort of based on a couple main ideas. The first idea is this fact that we know from the science of human embryology, which is that the unborn, meaning the human embryo or fetus, is a living human organism, a member of the species Homo sapiens, just like each of us, only at an earlier developmental stage. So each of us was once an embryo and a fetus, just as we were once infants and toddlers and teenagers. So the unborn is a human being biologically. That's the first point. The second point is that all human beings have
It's
human.
science,
What's
right?
that?
It's science.
It's science, yes.
For the party that claims to respect science, pardon me.
It is science. It's it's taught in an embryology textbooks. It's empirical science. So the unborn is a human being. The second idea is that all human beings have human rights. Everyone matters. Everyone counts. So obviously, unborn humans they are different from older humans in a number of ways. They're younger. They're smaller. They're less developed. They can't do all the things that we can do. They're very dependent on other people. But none of those differences are relevant to whether or not someone has rights, whether someone matters or not, whether it's wrong to kill them or not. Bigger people aren't more valuable than smaller people. Like a teenager is more cognitively developed than a 5-year-old, but we wouldn't say that the teenager has more of a right to live than the 5-year-old. So none of those differences between unborn and born humans are relevant to whether someone matters or not. Instead, we have rights not because of what we can do or what we look like or any of those things. We have rights because of what we are, because we're human beings. That's all that is necessary. So every human being, regardless of age or size or ability or dependency, and also regardless of race or gender, all these things, every human being has a right not to be intentionally killed. And that's why the unborn child has a right not to be killed and deserves protection from abortion. And it's why pregnant women deserve our support and compassion as well, because everyone matters. And that's the essence of the pro-life view.
That's really a beautiful thing to hear coming from a 20-something young man, because the experience of a lot of people these days is different from older generations. Like you said at the very start of this conversation, that extends to the elderly, that respect for life, the dignity of human life. It's whatever life stage you're in. You're not going to murder someone for some political expediency, I mean, God forbid, it's a slippery slope. once politicians start weighing in the balance who's more valuable, a person, a human, than some other person. And as an older guy who I might be looking at a nursing home stay, in my next life trajectory, in the next chapter of my life, it's encouraging to hear that there might be someone who's going to bring me a glass of water to help me take my medicine down rather than put a pillow over my face. And that respect for,
Yeah.
when you look at anthropologists have said, and sociologists have said, that you can judge a society, and my fifth grade anthropology teacher taught me this, you can judge a society on the basis of how it treats the most vulnerable of its members. So that would include the elderly as well as the embryo in the fetus, in the womb, the fetus in the womb.
Yeah.
It's how you can judge the goodness or evilness of a society. But
100%. Yeah.
yeah. So how can people get involved in the pro-life movement here in Minnesota, in the, maybe the rural areas, the city areas? There's something that a number of people can get involved with. What would you recommend they do to step up a little bit?
Yeah, there are different things to do. I mentioned MCCL's three-pronged mission, but there's also, the pro-life movement is very broad. There's sidewalk counseling, there's pregnancy care centers, there's all these different avenues of the movement. So I would recommend people get connected with us at MCCL, our website, mccl.org, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Get connected with us. It's always good to learn more about the issues and then share that information with others on social media or in person, family members. I would also say pay attention to our upcoming events and ways you can get involved with those. Obviously, a lot of things have been affected by the pandemic in the last year, but we are hoping that we'll have pro-life booths at county fairs around the state this summer and the state fair. And that's actually a volunteer opportunity for people. They can volunteer to staff a booth. That's an easy way to get involved. Other events include our Life Leadership Camp this August, which we anticipate will go on this year, assuming everything is okay. So these are things that people can participate in or promote in their communities.
Can I suggest your website, your www.mccl.org also has a link to Minnesotans Against Assisted Suicide, which is becoming more of an important issue too, and then also Hispanos por la Vida.
Yeah.
And este mensaje es también por los hispanos en nuestras comunidades, y veas esta información acá. And this is a great way to reach out. There's the March for Life. There's a legislative dinner, which is going to be very informative. There's a fall tour, as you mentioned, booths and displays at various county fairs and the state fair. There's youth programs. He mentioned, Paul Stark mentioned earlier about the youth outreach program to educate people in the schools. Lots of ways of reaching out and helping people respect the sanctity of human life. What an interesting website you guys have. And we'll include all the links to the other social media connections that you made. I really like your start page, by the way, which shows how a young child, if you take a look at their opening page at mccl.org, you'll see the way that children and young people learn to respect the sanctity of life right there on the opening page. It's beautiful. The mother and child, and the child is greeting its younger sibling within the womb. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. There's lots of ways to get involved, and folks can also support pregnancy care centers in their community or volunteer for them, and they can support us at MCCL. We always can use your faithful support. in our
You're
pro-life
the
mission.
oldest pro-life, you're the oldest Minnesotan citizens concerned for life, founded in 1968, and there's a donation page available at their website as well, mccl.org. And Paul Stark, I'll let you have the last word. If there's some additional thing you'd like to say, we would surely enjoy seeing you live and in person or with your team. Come on down to Rochester and we'll put on an event for you. And I believe people will reach into their wallets and show a little bit of love for what you guys do. Go ahead and make your statement, your closing statement.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Wes, for having me. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. We're just grateful for pro-lifers like you and everyone around the state who are committed to the cause of defending life, protecting unborn children, protecting the vulnerable elderly, protecting pregnant women. And I think together we can continue to educate and inform and persuade people and to support women and children and pass laws that will increase protection for those who need us and continue to decrease abortions and save lives and make a difference. You know, there are ups and downs politically, obviously. There's ups and downs and everything, but I think we've made progress and we'll continue to make progress as long as we're faithful to this mission. And we're gonna every little thing we do makes a difference. So I'm optimistic about the future, and just grateful for all the my fellow pro-lifers who are committed to this mission with me.
Well, the information you've conveyed to me, I just like to say how wonderful it is for an old fart like myself to see someone like you in the game. And
You don't look that old to me.
Thank you. But you're an encouragement to everyone who's going to watch this video, and thank you for your work. It's truly important work, and really thank you for this opportunity today to share this with a new community down here in Rochester.
Yeah, we do have members. We do have members in Rochester and so forth, but obviously we want to get more and more people connected and connected with us. So I encourage people to contact us and get connected.
Yeah, great. Have a really good day and keep up the good.
Okay, thank you, Wes.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Bye-bye.